Hello everyone, this is Cherie, and in this video I will be watching a Western film every day for a week. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Westerns. They don't have a lot to offer me because basically usually it's a male protagonist. The women are relegated to roles like wife, mother, school teacher, saloon girl slash prostitute, so there's nothing to aspire to. And there's usually guns and killing, again, nothing to aspire to. So, visually, it's kind of like the same kind of palette. You've got yellows and browns, maybe some greens, and it's just, they're just not for me. Westerns are not for me. But the reason I'm doing this video is because I need to see The Power of the Dog. It's been getting a lot of Oscar buzz and it's currently playing on Netflix. And I also have some other films, like back there you'll see a Marilyn Monroe DVD that I've had for over a year that I haven't watched yet, called River of No Return. That's a Western. And there are a couple scattered here and there. There's a horror Western, which I want to see. So I just kind of decided, okay, I'll just do a week of Westerns and get it over with. So my first film that I saw last night was Hannie Calder, and it stars Raquel Welch. And evidently, Tarantino was inspired by it when he was writing Kill Bill. It's about a trio of bandits who go to a horse ranch. The bandits kill the rancher. They take turns assaulting his wife, who is Raquel Welch, and then they burn her house down. So she vows to take revenge. She finds a bounty hunter and she gets him to teach her how to shoot. He helps get a gun made for her. You have a montage. You have like an 80s musical montage of her, practicing, getting her strength, the Rocky-like montage, and then the gun being made piece by piece, which was kind of interesting. This film was 1971, and so that might have been one of the first musical montages, and I thought they were like an 80s thing. And then she goes to town to face her assaulters. So yeah, it was not my cup of tea. I'm not sure which one I'm going to be watching tonight. Maybe Power of the Dog, maybe the foreign one. Yeah, and we'll just see how this week goes. All right, see you soon. The River of No Return, starring Marilyn Monroe as dance hall singer Kay. I saw this many years ago. I think I've actually seen it twice, but I never really remembered much about it. It was shot in CinemaScope, so it's very long across the screen. And because of this, they tried to get a lot of vistas and, establishing shots. And unfortunately, they didn't have a lot of movement. So you had these scenes that just took place for long periods of time. And it became kind of boring. There wasn't the standard like coverage going on with this film. So the story is that Kay and her fiance are going to Circle City to file a gold claim that he may or may not have won legally. They are taking the River of No Return, which is this long river filled with rapids, and you can only go down it one way. You can't go back up. That's why it's called the River of No Return. And they almost die on the rapids, except Robert Mitchum saves him and takes them to his farm, and he has a son there. And Kay's fiance decides to take his rifle and his horse so he can get to Circle City quicker, leaving Kay and Robert Mitchum and the boy exposed to the Native Americans who are going to attack them. So the Native Americans attack. They got to get back out on the river, and They watch their house being burned. And let's see how many houses burn in these westerns I watch. Um, and then they eventually get to Circle City, where there's a confrontation and a shootout and all that. All right, so this movie, it's okay, but you know, again, with just the really long takes, it gets kind of boring. The dialogue, there's so much dialogue. They could have cut half the dialogue and it would have been a better film. Um, it's very fun to watch Marilyn Monroe singing 4 songs in this. In the very first one, she's singing and playing guitar, and if you're a musician, you'll notice this. Her strumming's good, the pattern's good, but she doesn't move her fingers for all the chord changes. And so, if you're a musician, you're just kind of focusing on that, like the chords aren't changing, the chords aren't changing. But other than that, she did a great job, and she just lights up the screen. You know, she's wonderful. So it's worth watching for Marilyn Monroe. Oh, and fun fact, this was one of the very first films to use a blood squib. So when Kay's, spoiler alert, when Kay's fiance is shot and you see the explosion and then like the red blood, yeah, that was one of the first. Let the Corpses Tan, a 2017 weird western, a co-production between France and Belgium. I hated this movie. It was horrible. Um, Imagine if an art student wanted to make a film and 75% of the shots were like, look at me, look how creative I am, look how clever I am. There was no connection to the characters. There were a lot of characters. Basically, it was about some criminals that find some gold bars, and then the police come, and there's a big shootout overnight. and but just the way it was shot, it just stylistically was not my cup of tea, because you just kept getting thrown out of the story because of how showy all the cinematography was in it. So I definitely do not recommend this. I saw another Belgian film this year, Man Bites Dog, uh, that I also hated. So if anyone knows of any films from Belgium that you think I might like, please put them in the comment section below, because I don't want to keep thinking that Belgium just makes horrible films. The Power of the Dog, written and directed by Jane Campion. Finally, a Western I loved. Oh, it was so good. Okay, it has the Western tropes, but kind of subverts them. Um, there's no gunfight at the end. So, you know, if you're looking for that kind of thing, did I even see a gun in it? I don't even know if I saw a gun. Um, but everything else is in there. um, I don't want to tell you anything about it. I just want you to go in knowing nothing like I did and just let the story take over you. It was amazing. I think it could get nominated for like multitude awards: director, screenplay, actors, cinematography. Even I loved the editing, because the editing was perfectly paced. Usually they nominate things that are kind of like flashier edits, so we'll see. But yeah, I definitely think this is going to be a big Oscar contender. I did figure out Benedict Cumberbatch's character 15 minutes into the movie. And that's because I've seen a lot of movies, and Jane Campion laid out all the information if you knew how to look for it. So most people, I don't know if they're going to get it that quickly. They'll get it by the midpoint. And I'll give you another hint about the ending. If you've been following my channel since it started, a couple years ago I had a beginning video production class, and I made a short film called Allergies. So if you remember that one, The Power of the Dog has the same kind of conflict and resolution in it, but The Power of the Dog does it so much better, more beautifully, expertly, subtly. Yeah, but yeah, I can't recommend it enough. Please watch it. It's currently on Netflix. All right, so tonight I'm going to watch Johnny Guitar starring Joan Crawford, which has been placed in the National Film Registry. Johnny Guitar starring Joan Crawford. I'm not really sure why this is in the National Film Registry as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Um, it wasn't a bad film. Let's see. It had, it didn't have any Native Americans. It had showdowns. It had a building burning to the ground. um, I guess what might make it significant is that it was a female led Western and her main antagonist was also a female. Johnny Guitar was someone that she knew from the past that she hired to come and help protect her, the Joan Crawford character. So it really was her story, not his story. You know, I mean, it's a catchy title, Johnny Guitar, but doesn't really hint at what the story is about. Um, so the rival between Joan Crawford's character and this woman in town who wants to run her out of town. If you saw the Netflix series Midnight Mass, there was a really pious uh, religious church lady in that who everyone despised. So this antagonist is very much like that antagonist. So yeah, I don't want to give too much of it away in case you want to watch it. It was okay. Oh, there's some dialogue in it that I felt like did the same person that wrote the River of No Return dialogue write this dialogue because it was just clunky and expository and didn't make sense at all times, and yeah, I didn't like it. And there were two of those big like long dialogue sections. True Grit, starring John Wayne. It came out in 1969, and this is the kind of movie I think of when I think of a Western. However, this is much better than like the typical Western because, as I said before, I'm not a big fan. But this was actually good. It concerns a young girl who is trying to get justice for her father who was murdered. So she hires a marshal who is John Wayne, and he's an alcoholic and doesn't really care much. And she's kind of the one like leading the way, like really pushing him to help her find the killer. It was remade by the Coen brothers. I have not seen that version, but based on this one, I wouldn't mind watching that one either. All right, and the final film that I saw for my week of Westerns was The Horse Whisperer. I had seen this when it came out a long time ago. It came out in 1998. It stars Robert Redford, and it was also directed by him. It's a very long movie. It's almost 3 hours. I think I would have enjoyed it more had it been maybe 2 hours, 15 minutes, but I understood why he did the really long takes. It's about a young girl who suffers an accident, both she and her horse, and they both need to be rehabilitated. So her mother, Kristen Scott Thomas, finds the horse whisperer, Robert Redford's character, and takes her daughter and the horse to Montana to get everything back on the right track. And Scarlett Johansson, I was like, is this the first movie she's been in? No, she was in like four more before this one, but she was so young in it and so talented. And yeah, it's just a beautiful movie. It shows that it takes a long time to heal, hence the runtime. um, and so yeah, it was beautiful. But I just due to the length, I don't know if I would watch it again. If you don't mind really long movies, then The Horse Whisperer is probably for you. All right, so that was my week of Westerns. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Actually, quite fun, but you know what? The Power of the Dog. Please see that. I really believe it's going to get some Oscar nominations, if not Oscar wins in 2022. All right, thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next video.